Hi, and welcome to another narration, presented by yours truly, Cryptids Roost. Let's just take a moment's silence for all the haters, Karens, and the trolls. That's enough. Be sure to check out the blooper reel at the end of the video, which is then followed by the end screen, where you will find more videos listed. So grab your coffee, sit back and enjoy the show. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not. A strange glow. This awesome story is written by Cinder Sentinel. I was about 10 years old at the time of these happenings. My family and I had just moved house, and at first sight nothing appeared in any way wrong with the house. It was a rather large, odd-shaped bungalow. It had 8 rooms, all set along a long hallway. My room was at the very end of the hallway. Of course, I get the room with the busted lights. It was a big room with a large window looking out on the green, a double bed, an ensuite, and a small TV. One feature of the room seemed a bit odd though. There was a wooden chair sitting in the corner of the room. I wouldn't have found it odd, but it was facing the wall. According to my dad, any cracks, holes or stuff being in the wrong place had been fixed. So why wasn't this? I quickly exiled this thought and began to examine the room more. Closing the curtains caused the room to turn dark red, as that was their colour, though the wallpaper was cream coloured. I was done here and decided to check around outside. The outside of the house had a small concrete enclosure out back, heavy woodland on the sides and a large green out front. I walked back to the end of the green and looked back at the grey bungalow, when something caught my eye. A glow. Not a terribly powerful glow, but enough to be recognisable. I looked in confusion at where it was coming from and got a bit of a fright when I realised. Yeah, you probably guessed it. My room. I stood there like a stump for about a minute, just staring at the ominous glow, wondering, what the hell is that? I grew curious and quickly ran to my window and looked through. When I got close, I froze again. The glow was moving slightly. I was frightened by what I was seeing, and before I could get any closer, it just vanished. I looked around myself in sharp movements until my quiet was broken by my mom asking what I'd like from the takeaway. Even that made me jump. I tried to push it to the back of my mind, so I placed an order, and after dinner I wasted the remainder of the evening away watching TV. I had trouble sleeping that night. As soon as I stepped foot in a dark room, I thought scary thoughts. Normally I fix this with a refreshing, "It's not real," but this was real. I've seen it. I lay in my room trying to think of reasons why a glow can just appear in a room when lights aren't working. I found none. I finally fell asleep, but awoke during the night to a strange noise coming from down the hall. It sounded at first like a woman giggling, but with a sort of distortion in the voice. But it eventually turned into a distorted sobbing and crying. I was frozen still. I couldn't even move the blanket. All I could do was blink, breathe and look around me. I grew more scared as the now intense crying seemed to be getting closer and closer. Now it seemed right outside my door. I threw the blanket over me and yelled at the top of my lungs, hoping to wake up my mom, dad or brother. The crying stopped and Mom came in and asked about what was wrong. I told her and she passed it off as a nightmare. How wrong she was. The next day I was constantly looking over my shoulder and keeping my ears alert for the sound again, but nothing happened. Later on that day, my parents went out to a bar for the night, leaving my brother to take care of me. We stayed up pretty late watching movies and playing video games. When it came time for bed, I was still pretty nervous, but tried my best not to worry about last night's incident. I fell asleep. I awoke again, this time to a faint light coming in my window. I immediately thought it was my parents, so I just rolled over and closed my eyes. A good 10 minutes had passed when I checked to see if the light was gone. It wasn't. I sat up and reluctantly pulled open the curtain. At the end of the long green, I saw the source of the glow. It looked like a woman wearing a dark grey long coat and holding a lantern, which explained the glow. I stared in shock and awe. I couldn't make out her face or head as the lantern was in the way, but she was standing as still as me. Suddenly she began lowering the lantern, and I saw that her face was white as snow and rotted. Her hair grey, and she had a strange mark around her neck. And the scariest of all, her eyes were completely black. It was then I noticed she was staring straight at me. I was breathing very heavily now, and the second I saw her looking my way, I jumped back in bed and lay there, awake for the remainder of the night. The following day I set out to the woods with my brother. We were walking for about 5 minutes when we got separated. I called to him and he called back. As I made my way towards the origin of his call, I noticed something in the big oak tree straight across from me. At that time I saw only a rope in the tree, but now I know it was a noose. I eventually met up with my brother and we headed for home. The sun set and I asked my parents if I could sleep in their room that night. They said yes and took me in. I slept easy by my parents' side, but yet again woke later that night. I heard nothing at all. I was relieved for a moment, but then at the door I saw it. That glow again. I knew she was there. I tried my hardest to stay put, but at this point I just wanted to see what it was. It could have been the hall light after all. I went to the door and peered through the keyhole. Even though the entire outside of the door was illuminated by the light, the keyhole was pitch black. I went back to bed, clueless about what just happened. For those of you who, like me at the time, have no idea why the keyhole was dark, well, refer to the paragraph above this one and try to figure it out. I told my parents about all the stuff I was seeing and told them I hated it here and I was afraid. They talked and decided to move, figuring I'd never get asleep. I was very glad to hear the news and packed all my things, as did the rest of the family. We were leaving first thing in the morning for a hotel, at least until we found a place to settle in. I had to endure one more night. That night I tried to just stay awake all night and sleep in the car on the way to our hotel, but tiredness set in and I faded away. When I woke up I was facing the wall on the left side of my bed. I saw the wall was being illuminated by a light. I knew then I should have just stayed facing that wall and closed my eyes, but no, I didn't. I rolled over and there she was, sitting in the chair, facing the wall, laughing. I looked at her, my heart beating rapidly when everything in my body froze. She turned her head completely 180 degrees, and I watched her rotten mouth go from a big yellow toothed grin to a sad expression. Tears streamed down her pale rotten face, and then I noticed that the mark on her neck was the mark of a rope. Her head turned back to the wall, and I managed to muster the courage to scream. Finally her head turned again, this time with a blank expression. It turned suddenly to her screaming at me. Her jaw opened much more than a person's, and then as I covered my ears and lay there, my eyes closed and screaming, it stopped. About a minute later, my parents came in and comforted me. We left early that morning. Hell, it was still pretty dark, and we drove away past the green. I saw it one last time at my window, a strange glow. And I hope you enjoy the blooper reel. Heavy woodland, not terribly powerful glow. I had trouble sleeping that night. As soon I grew more scared at the now intense crying seeming to get in. Later on that day, my parents... I awoke again. At that time, I only saw a rope in the tree. It couldn't have been... Hey family, please be so kind as to throw punch the like button and smack the ass of the subscription button as well. And remember to chokehold that notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. And by subscribing, you'll be the first to see all of our new spooky creepypasta stories. A very big thank you to Cinder Sentinel for allowing me to narrate this awesome story. Make sure to check out creepypasta.fandom.com for more brilliant stories. And be sure to take a look at the playlist here for more of their stories that I may have already narrated. I would just like to say a very big thank you to all of the authors that I have worked with, and all the ones that I will work with in the future. So thank you all, my brothers and sisters. And why not hashtag cryptidsroost in your comments. A quick thank you to all of my Cryptids Roost community family too. We are now well on our journey to 1000 subscribers. So please spread the word and help us to grow and expand. And don't forget to share the videos too. If you would like to throw me $1 or $3, I'd be very much appreciative. I do have PayPal, paypal.me/cryptidsroost. Alternatively, I have an account at buymeacoffee.com. You don't even need to register on either site to donate. You can also follow us at my Facebook group, Twitter and Instagram. I also have Ko-Fi, BitChute and Rumble. I have a subreddit if you have a story you would like me to read for you. All relevant links will be below. And don't forget to check out the end screen, see above. That will also list some more videos in my back catalogue. Take care everyone, and I hope you all have a wonderful and peaceful night. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness
is not.